What's up, solutionaries? Want to welcome everybody to a special edition of the Maj Toure Show. Huge shouts to everybody tapping in. If you are tapping in, watching on x.com forward slash, what's it, Maj Toure 999, youtube.com forward slash Maj Toure, rumble.com forward slash Maj Toure, and I want everybody to stream, repost, and all that other good stuff. As Karlyn just said, Maj wants us to stream on our channels too, so hopefully this works. That will be wonderful. What's up to everybody? I know it's been a long weekend. Didn't see y'all Friday. We're not gonna waste a whole bunch of time. Today, we are going to have a discussion about a very serious conversation. Obviously, everybody knows that we are going into an election, and I hate this phrase, but it feels like it. It could be media, but this is one of, if not the most important, at least in my life, one of the most important elections. And as a libertarian, this topic has been very serious because, for those of you that are not aware, there has been inroads made into the Republican camp from libertarians in relation to the Trump campaign. And so we saw this split in this shift, this topic that has created such a major debate. Should libertarians align with the Trump administration to make real strides, or does that compromise our principles as liberty-minded folks? Again, tonight I will be joined by a dynamic panel, including Angela McCardle, other voices, Mike Heiss, Karlyn, a bunch of folks that many of you know. And the conversation, I expect it to be very, very passionate and respectful, but passionate nonetheless. And a lot of these voices were both for and against using the Libertarian Party as a vehicle alongside Trump's run and agenda, whichever way you want to call it. So we're going to explore tonight if this strategy truly advances freedom from everybody's perspective, or does it undermine the core of what libertarians stand for? That is the crux of this conversation tonight. We can expect a lively discussion, controversial questions, plenty of insight. And to me, this isn't just about politics per se. It's more about the direction of the liberty movement and what we're willing to risk and potentially get reward and gains from. So whether you're fired up about this topic or not, I think that it's very important to have this conversation and bring your questions, opinions, open mind. We're going to keep it super duper honest, but respectful. I don't want anybody to dox anybody. I don't want anybody to talk about anybody's mother or anything like that. But I'm going to join up. I'm going to bring all of the panelists on now. I'll add everybody to the stage. We have some more folks coming in shortly, scheduling and all that other good stuff. But I'm going to add everybody at once, and I'm going to let everybody give a brief introduction of who they are, as well as we got Pat in here now. We got Derek in here now. We have Mike Heiss in here now. We have Julie Nicard in here now. And we have Dr. Karlyn B in here right now. So we have a few folks tapping in a quick second. First, I want to say thank you to you all for deciding to be a part of this. I think that it is a very passionate topic, and I know pretty much all of you are on literally the exact opposite end of the spectrum of this conversation. And I do not think that anyone is, I guess I feel like Switzerland tonight. I feel like the place that everybody's like, kind of like Maj, So I want to thank you all for doing that. And let's start with ladies first. Everybody go around and just introduce yourself. Let folks know who you are. And if you're in the chat, please make sure you are following and supporting every single person on this panel. I think it's very important to do that. I follow, at this point now, everybody on the panel. So I just want to make sure that everybody's tapped in, and regardless of where you land, currently, you can learn something, add a little bit of tools to your tool belt from the folks that's going to tap in tonight and things of that nature. So starting with currently the only woman in the room for the moment, just introduce yourself, let folks know who you are. And I want everybody from everybody else's following. If you guys are watching this on X, share it all over the place. If you hear from one specific person or another, share it to your following so we can make sure that this conversation is robust. We do not want it to look like there's no pushback. We want pushback. We want challenges, and your following will have that as well. So, boom, I pass the mic off to the first young lady in the room.
Thanks, Maj, and thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it. For people who don't know who I am, I'm Karlyn Borisenko. I am an independent journalist covering the radical revolutionary far left in the United States and all the crazy stuff that they're doing. I have been involved in one way or another with the Libertarian Party since 2021. I was a delegate at the Reno convention. I was a part of the Mises Caucus until the Mises Caucus got summarily disbanded in New Hampshire, and so that happened. I was a big supporter of the Mises Caucus up until I saw that I didn't think that they were serious about the goals anymore. And I have to say, I think the reaction to Chase Oliver getting nominated for president, which was obviously not the candidate that they wanted, and I supported Michael Rectenwald, by the way, but the reaction I found to be deeply, deeply disappointing and basically confirmed all of the haters' suspicions about the Mises Caucus in the first place. I don't think we as libertarians should be supporting Donald Trump, and I'm happy to go into the reasons why as we get into this discussion. But ultimately, I actually don't care who people vote for because I don't think it matters. But I'm looking forward to a great discussion.
Cool. Next up, Julian. Let the folks know who you are, where you're from, what position you stand on the conversation tonight, and yeah, introduce yourself.
All right. So, like Karlyn, I'm up here in New Hampshire. Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast, Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast on X and YouTube. I was a gubernatorial candidate, a political strategist. I've worked as a contractor on multiple campaigns, just got finished running a congressional campaign. I've been affiliated with the Libertarian Party in a tacit ally position, which is basically my position tonight, which is whatever incrementally moves to step forward in a positive direction using long-term strategy is a good thing because we're not going to get everything we want in one shot. And
Okay.
playing the purity games doesn't do anything, doesn't accomplish anything. We got
Okay.
beat 1,000 cuts at a time. We're going to win it back 1,000 cuts at a time.
Makes sense. Derek Willis, introduce yourself to the folks. Let them know who you are. It's nice to put a face to the page, my brother, too, as well.
Thanks a lot, Maj. I appreciate it. So if you don't know me, my name is Derek Wills. I go under the handle on Twitter at ANCAPAir. I'm an author. I've published my first book. Walter Block wrote the foreword for that. I'm currently working on my second and have ideas for my third. And I also write long-form essays on X, exclusively on X, talking about anarchist principles, liberty, ethics, and every other topic like that. I've as an anarchist, I do have some issues with the Libertarian Party just as an entity. But if I'm going to look at the so-called party of principle, then they should stand on their principles. It's not about purity. It's not about if every person actually stood on their principles and put their principles first and foremost, then I truly believe that we would actually, as liberty-minded people, take a strong foothold in this whole election fiasco. But instead, we see compromise after compromise after compromise, and anybody who's ever been in the gun rights advocacy field, like you and I used to be, knows that compromise never works. So that's my position on it, and thanks again for having me.
Okay. Patrick?
Hey, Maj, thanks for having me. I am Patrick Smith, I guess known as Not Governor Patrick Smith from back when I ran for Not Governor of Texas in the Libertarian Party. So I might be the middle ground that you're talking about missing in this discussion. I have both run as a candidate, but also eschew supporting candidates that conflict with libertarian principle. I'm looking forward to this discussion because I've been in the thick of it. I've seen both sides. I've applied for endorsement by the Mises Caucus back when they were more libertarian leaning. I've run the gamut. I'm primarily a technology entrepreneur, chief technology officer. That is my love and my passion and what I do all day, every day. I've been an activist in almost every category I can think of. I've made YouTube content for over a decade. I have done, we do a Feed the Need event where we carry weapons to keep the government away while we feed the homeless, which is currently illegal in Texas. We do that every Christmas. I've done a lot of different forms of outreach. I sit as the president of a nonprofit organization called Voluntary Virtue, where we try and help voluntarists, libertarians that are in need when they're
So, Patrick, I'm gonna interrupt you a bit.
Yeah, sure.
For tonight's discussion, which way are you leaning more towards?
I don't think Trump is supportable as by anyone with libertarian principles. He has a body count on his.
And lastly, let's go to Mike. Mike, introduce yourself. Let the folks know who you are.
I'm Michael Heitz. I'm the founder of the Mises Caucus, currently working for the Libertarian Party on strategy and outreach, and also the CEO of Dissident Media. And essentially, my position is Murray Rothbard's position in his article, The Case for Radical Idealism, which can be oversimplified as always fight for what you want, but take what you can get along the way. I don't believe that a vote is the ultimate expression of my beliefs and my principles. I believe it's a tactical calculation. And I believe the roles of unwinnable races and what they can achieve and what they're for is different from winnable races from non-libertarians. So that's kind of the very short version of my position.
Okay. So we have Angela tapping in here shortly. You know, she got the baby and all that other good stuff. She'll be tapping in here in a quick minute. We have about 8 to 10 questions tonight, and I just kind of want to get everybody's perspective. Now, I want everybody to be as exactly passionate as they want to be. We are liberty-minded folks, so we can take some mean tweets, pun intended, right? I want everybody to be as passionate and honest as possible, and at the same time, I want everybody to get their perspective off. So I'll give everybody maybe 30 to 60 seconds on answering all of these different things. And then after everyone gives an answer, I'll give another moment for everybody to, rebut and things of that nature, if everybody's cool with that. First question, because we have a lot of folks in tonight. Well, a lot of folks in for my YouTube, channel. As Bookworm just said, freedom of speech. And this is a really good thing. Now, I want everybody that's in the actual chat, give perspective. Obviously, you guys know that we do super chats. We do all that other good stuff. We try to get 10 folks to give up $20 in super chats, which is $200, makes us able to continue to do stuff, continue to content and things like that. So if you can tap in, and if you cannot be a super chat, if you got questions, do the super chat thing. If not, just share all over the place. All right. I think this conversation boils down to what I thought was a good, solid first question for everybody, which is, what would success look like for the Libertarian Party? Right. Obviously, we have some ANCAP folks in, but does that mean success? Does that mean political influence? Does it mean more members? Does it mean policy changes or something else? So I want everybody to kind of mull that around in their mind, and we'll just go around the same way, and then we'll open it up for debate and argument. Karlyn, what does that look like for you? What for the LP party? And if you want to go into the movement itself, what does success look like? Because if you're in a position that, hey, linking up with that dude may not be success, what does success look like for you?
Well, I know what success doesn't look like, and it doesn't look like supporting someone who's obviously going to take us into a war with Iran on behalf of Israel. And the thing of it is that Chase Oliver was not a perfect candidate. He really wasn't. There were some flaws that he had, some things I don't agree with him on. But where Chase Oliver was exceptionally strong and continues to be exceptionally strong is as an anti-war candidate. And there has never been a more important time to have a staunch anti-war candidate. Donald Trump, I don't know if you guys watched the RNC, but I watched literally every minute of the RNC. They did an entire half-hour ode to Israel during the RNC. We had J.D. Vance getting up the day he got nominated, talking about, are you going to use the big bombs on Israel, or are you going to use the small bombs on Iran? Sorry, on Iran on behalf of Israel. We've got people cheering on Benjamin Netanyahu, speaking in front of Congress, begging for us to go to war with Iran on their behalf. And so I know what's going to happen in a Trump presidency. Probably would happen in a Kamala presidency too. But we cannot be seen to be supporting an anti-war candidate, a pro-war candidate rather. And the fact of the matter is, and the thing that's most disgusting to me about what's happened in the Libertarian Party this election cycle, is that Nick Fuentes is more anti-war than the Libertarian Party. Nick Fuentes and his groypers went to Donald Trump and they said, no war with Iran. We will not support you if you don't commit to not going to war with Iran. That's more than the Libertarian Party has done, and I think it's absolutely shameful because in my understanding of it, anti-war was supposed to be one of our primary platform planks.
Okay, next up, Julian, give your perspective. What does success look like for you for the LP today? Karlyn brings up an excellent point, in my opinion. I think that I don't know how anybody that's going to counter that is going to counter that, but facts are facts. What do you think, though, Julian? Where's Karlyn off there? Where's she wrong in that regard? And what does success look like for you? You there, Julian?
Yeah. Now, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So I don't think Karlyn is wrong. I think she was on it when it comes to her P's and Q's. She owns her shit. But what I will say is Trump back in 2015, 2014 was talking a big anti-war game while simultaneously talking big about North Korea and China and friggin' the wars in the Middle East and talking about dictators. And everyone thought he was going to get us into a war then too. But we all know that DC always finds a way to get into a war. It's going to happen regardless. And Chase Oliver doesn't have a chance to actually win. Not a chance in hell. Even if every libertarian in the country were to vote for him and every liberty-leaning Republican were to vote for him, the numbers just aren't there. So the way I look at it is I want to move the closest towards liberty at any given moment in time, because I'm an old school Republican back when the party used to be a liberty party prior to the conservative movement adopting the conservative movement. So I think anything that we can ally on to increase the individual liberty in this country, anything that we can do together to put to bed this post-humanist intersectional Marxist doctrine that's being pushed all over this country, that's infested in our government, I'm down with. I like
for you, that's what success would look like. If you had to put that in a elevator pitch, success looks like this to you going with this tactic. In what way?
Yes, it looks like allying together to the point where we can make massive cultural moves and policy moves that move us closer to individual liberty and closer to transparency, accountability, and efficiency in the government. Anything that decreases the government's control.
Okay, Derek, jump in here real quick.
You know, I used to be a Republican too. I was a huge constitutional conservative, and I said the exact same shit when I was a Republican, that, oh, the Libertarians, they'll just never win, so why would I bother voting for them? And then I found my principles, and I stood up to them and became a Libertarian, and now, taking that to its logical conclusion, I am now an anarcho-capitalist. Now, here's the thing. We spoke about his I guess, war tactics. Here's the thing. He dropped 75,000 bombs during his first term. 75,000. That's approximately 50 per day. And here's the thing. That's not even his worst war crime. His worst war crime was involved the death of an 8-year-old American citizen on a raid that was totally botched and a total failure. They didn't even get intel out of it. So he's absolutely going to continue down the same path, and especially with the tensions that are going on between Israel and Iran and in Gaza, he's going to be all in on that. He's not. He is loyal to Israel. He is loyal to the war machine because he can profit off of it, just like every other member of Congress does. So to say that, oh, we might be able to have his ear, or to even say that, well, it's inevitable anyway, then why don't you just go be a Republican? Because you're not standing up for your principles. If you're anti-war, then be anti-war. Donald Trump is not it.
So Derek, jump in. I'm gonna jump in real quick, Derek. So from your perspective, success looks like what with that philosophy that you just shared? What does success look like for the LP? Now you got to remember, we're talking about the Libertarian Party,
right?
So what does success look like for you with that thought process for the Libertarian Party? Give me your elevator pitch.
All right. I honestly, at this point, I don't see a path forward for the Libertarian Party as a whole. the Libertarian Party ran Ron Paul for president in the 80s. He didn't get anywhere. And even when Ron Paul ran as a Republican, he couldn't win. So you're not going to win over the hearts and minds of Republicans because they're too statist. They're too collectivist. They're just as collectivist as Democrats are, and they're going to stand by their collectivist identity as Republicans and Democrats. Success looks like educating the masses at large, getting out what true liberty looks like, or the alternative, accelerationism and just waiting for the inevitable collapse.
Okay. Patrick, jump in here real quick. What does success look like for you for the LP? Agree, disagree? Now listen, y'all. I don't want to give anybody like gloves. If y'all are completely disagreeing with what somebody says, call it out, say what it is, and still get back to your point about what that success looks like. Go ahead.
Success looks like two things for the Libertarian Party. On one hand, it looks like taking every bit of cooperation and partnership and putting all the support we possibly can behind the things that line up with libertarian principle, no matter where they come from. Take every inch we can possibly get. That's one side. The other side is to stand as like a measuring stick in the room of politics, to get candidates on debate stages next to the other R's and D's and whatever else, and be the measuring stick against which those other candidates look like the murderous, unprincipled clown shows that they are. And you do that by not partnering and supporting people that have killed thousands of innocents. That's you putting the clown nose on. And as far as Murray Rothbard's case for radical idealism, it's mind-blowing that Michael gets it precisely backwards. He makes the case in that article for not supporting anything that even a little bit contravenes libertarian principle. We can get into that more later if you want.
All right, Mike, jump in here real quick. I feel like Pat just took shots at you real quick. I want to give you a chance to jump in there.
I also want to say I would link arms with just about anybody on the screen right now to work towards liberty.
Yeah, no,
so
it's not all good.
It's not toxic, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, not at all. Well, first of all, Murray Rothbard endorsed a number of candidates that weren't explicitly libertarian in the name of the kind of concept that I was talking about of always fighting for what you want while taking what you can get along the way. And I would say this is further buttressed by Ron Paul's positions on coalitions and how they can bring people together on single issues and things like that. I would say success for the Libertarian Party is the same thing as success for libertarianism and libertarians, which is the expansion of liberty politically and philosophically within American culture wherever possible. And the wherever possible thing is really the key word there. And it requires us to be honest with ourselves. Now, from the viewpoint of the LP, from the framework of where the LP is, I think success is attainable. What the data shows is at the local level where we can affect 10th Amendment radical nullification and decentralization. It's also the case that the Libertarian Party has formally adopted Defend the Guard as one of its issue coalitions. The founder of that, Dan McKnight, is on video multiple times saying that the Libertarian Party and its members are kind of the driving force of that movement. So what I would say is, well, one, it's not so much about Trump as much as it is about this unity movement that's around him and what kind of people that's bringing in and what that's doing to the Overton window. I've been to 3 events for this now, and at one of them I was tabling for Defend the Guard. And from right-wing MAGA people to dreaded-headed hippie chicks for Kennedy, universal support for it. So I think what's happened here is, from the viewpoint of the LP, the presidential candidate, typically the success there is messaging, recruitment, and ballot access. And I agree with Karlyn that Chase has put forward a real effort to be anti-war, and I appreciate that. But what's happening on the ground is, one, we've lost a lot of members since he's become the candidate. There's no information to show us that he's going to retain ballot access. And it doesn't appear to be taking hold in the culture. So then the question is where can we find value? And I think Angela has answered that question through this kind of being a part of the unity movement.
Shit, did we just lose Maj?
Yeah. Well, since Maj went off stream, hang on. Since Maj went off stream for a second, I just want to respond to Michael. The reason we've lost a lot of support since Chase Oliver was nominated is because you and your friends went out and did a massive smear campaign against him and went on all these podcasts saying things about him that weren't true. Quite frankly, and again, I did not support Chase Oliver, and my heart broke for Michael Rectenwald when he lost. It really, really did. But the thing of it is there was an opportunity to position the Libertarian Party as the preeminent anti-war party with a young candidate who is very good at campaigning. He made his overture out to everyone when he did his acceptance speech at the convention, where he was duly nominated by the convention body in a convention that Angela chaired. He said, "I will be the anti-war candidate for everyone." Success for me looks like having the most staunch anti-war candidate in the race, doing the best anti-war messaging in the race, and getting as many people over to that cause as possible. Was he going to win? No, he was never going to win. But this should have been about advancing an anti-war message in a time when there is a very real possibility that we are going to go into World War III when Donald Trump takes us to war with Iran on behalf of Israel.
So as far as people, not supporting Chase, I mean, he's an unpopular candidate, and that's just the reality of it. That's not me and my friends' fault. It's just an unpopular candidate. I mean, we don't have control over his fundraising, for example, and he's fundraised about $400,000. This is less than half than what happened with Andre Moreau in '92 when Ross Perot was on the ballot. So, I mean, I don't really have control over whether or not he is accepted by the movement or he's a popular candidate, which is why we ran Rectenwald. Rectenwald was the best that we had to make an appeal to the wider movement and kind of have that argument. But even if Rectenwald or Dave, for that matter, ran, I think there's real questions that have to be asked, again, through this unity movement. When you're talking about Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency cutting $2 trillion or 75% of the bureaucracy, trying to bring Rand Paul aboard, having RFK into the FDA, having Tulsi Gabbard, who was much more dovish than the kind of neocons that were around Trump the first time. Trump admitting that he was wrong by having those neocons around him. I don't think the circumstances are the same this time, and I don't think it's fair to act as if they are.
Chase Oliver was so unpopular that he beat your candidate in a completely fair election and nominating process at the national convention. You want to talk about Tulsi Gabbard? Tulsi Gabbard endorsed Don Bolduc in New Hampshire in 2022, who also advocated for taking us to war. So she completely abandoned her principles there. RFK is in favor of taking away guns and is in favor of affirmative action. So he's basically a Democrat. None of these people are libertarian. I don't want to be in a unity ticket with any of these people. This is supposed to be the party of principle that was supposed to stand for something, and this should have been an opportunity to advance those core principles that we all claim to be a fan of.
So let me ask this. That's actually a great segue into the next question. If, from what it sounded like, most of the folks on the panel are like, hey, the Libertarian Party isn't a vehicle, right? So if it's not a good vehicle, right, why are we using it? If you guys don't think that this is viable, because that's what it sounds like, because we're talking about the party, right? If it's not a viable situation, why are we using it or even identifying as libertarian? I'm tossing it out for everybody. Listen, I'm Switzerland. I'm the good guy at certain points, and I'm the bad guy at certain points because I want to hear everybody's perspective.
I feel personally that what makes libertarians unique is that they do have principles, and they stand on those principles regardless of the odds. They will support their candidate even though he has a 0% chance of even carrying a single state. And that's never stopped libertarians before, but now the Libertarian Party has decided to get in bed with the same with their enemy. So let me give some pushback. Does that mean that using the Libertarian Party in general as the vehicle is the betrayal of the founding principles? It seemed like we might be trying to split hairs here. Is using it as a party as opposed to a movement a betrayal in and of itself of those founding principles? I don't think so necessarily. Being an ANCAP, I'm not an active supporter of the Libertarian Party. However, I do think that the Libertarian Party, if they had the right person as chair, if they had the right messaging, and they actually went out and campaigned, they have celebrities who identify as libertarians. You got Vince Vaughn, you got Dennis Leary. If they actually went out and said, hey, can you help us with our messaging? Can you help us get it out there? I really think that the Libertarian Party could actually win something for once. But
that's actually exactly what they need. That's exactly what they need. From a political strategist point of view, all campaigns are about marketability. It's not about policy. It's not about any of that other shit. As much as somebody who works in politics, I really wish it was. I wish it was about policy. I wish it was about actual solutions. But it comes down to, is your candidate marketable, and not necessarily about their policy, but how do they make people feel by how they speak about policy? And we can operate in the game. Like, I'm not a libertarian. I already made that very clear. I'm a Frederick Douglass Republican. I fight with my party nonstop. Like many of you fight with your party nonstop. But what I will say is there has to be an acknowledgement that the world exists differently from how we wish it was, and you play the game based on the world that exists, not the world we wish exists, if we want to move anywhere. So you need those Dennis Leary, you need Vince Vaughn, you need what's his name, Rob Schneider. You need those guys to teach you guys. You need guys running for office like Dave Smith, Spike Cohen, Maj Toure. You need guys who are enigmatic in the way that they get up in front of a crowd and they speak to people and they can rouse that energy in the room, because that is going to make people actually look at you. And to be honest, libertarianism is getting more popular by the day. One of the most popular Republicans in the people in the Republican Party, MAGA movement, whatever, one of the most popular people in Congress is Thomas Massie. I have yet to meet a Republican who does not love Thomas Massie, Rand Paul, Ron Paul. I voted for Ron Paul.
And he still didn't
Rand
win.
Paul.
Oh,
yeah, and he didn't win. He didn't win. But I was, you know what? I was pissed, and I don't like wars. As somebody who's fought in wars, and I've lost buddies, and I keep losing buddies, I don't like it. But my thing is, if I already know a war is inevitable because the military-industrial complex has a universal lockdown on all of D.C., the only thing that I can say is who's going to shake up D.C. the most?
You think for a second that Donald Trump is going to be anti-war in any capacity?
No. I said who shakes up D.C. the most?
But you brought up...
If I can combine Donald Trump, who will do shit no Republican will ever do because he's not a Republican. Not by any current modern sense of what it means to be a Republican. The bastardization between the conservative movement and the Republican Party, or the original Republican Party. He's not a Republican. I think everyone on this panel can agree with that he's not a real Republican by any standards. He is a walking rhino.
No, I do not agree with that at all. I think that Donald Trump has been assimilated to the establishment. He is not the same candidate that ran in 2016. In fact, you look at his entire campaign team, none of his campaign team actually supported him in 2016. And again, I watched the RNC from start to finish. I know what their platform is, and all of the things that Donald Trump was saying to libertarians to get their vote, poof, it all went away when it actually came to articulating their platform, including the thing where he said he was going to defund the Department of Education. Not one mention of it at the RNC, and the only time it has been mentioned is when he's trying to pander to libertarian votes. So I think Donald Trump has assimilated to be an establishment candidate. I don't think we're going to see anything out of him that we maybe saw in 2016, and I think his campaign team and the entire way he's run this campaign reflects that.
Yeah, not to mention,
won't get me saying a positive thing about his campaign team. I think they're utter freaking disaster.
One quick second, everybody. Then I want Mike to jump in. I want to give shout out to some of the super chats. Jack Lloyd, who was actually going to be on this tonight, but scheduling. Jack said the full-throated support of Trump drives away future interest in the LP, confuses new people, sends donors away, and betrays bylaws. Article 2, Section 1. That's what Jack said. Our brother, who is next up here? Ryan Jackson here. Good brother here, supportive of our work all the way for $30. Appreciate that. Drop the Mask says, Trump is not enough of a change from the status quo to justify abandoning your principles. The LP might have just destroyed their future by going all in on Trump. Pause. Drop the Mask pod on X. And lastly, Terry Renee, another supporter, says, success for the LP would be getting folks to stop believing the propaganda from the duopoly that tells them they're wasting their vote when voting LP. I appreciate all of that, guys. Listen, support the live chats, support the super chats. Mike, I want you to jump in real quick because I'm going to keep it a buck, man. Me being Switzerland, it's kind of like, hey, man, the anti-Trump folks are making a good position here. Now, to me, it seems like, I don't know. It seems like it's just you in the room right now, Mike. So give me your perspective on that. Where's everybody getting it wrong in that sense?
I'm used to that. Now, the question was, is the LP a vehicle? You know, and I think what's going on right now actually proves that it's more of a vehicle than it has been since the early 2000s, basically, because there was never a point before where people were coming and making promises to us to kind of get actual tangible wins that libertarians would celebrate on the board in real life. And I think the in real life element is a real element that's missing from this discussion. And while you can say, oh, well, he's not going to get anything. That's a valid, that's a valid position to hold, but it's equally valid to say, well, I think we will get some of them because, you might say, oh, well, he did these non-libertarian things in the past, and that's why I think he won't. But Angela also has direct access to that team to him. So, and I think she's the only one who has that in this room. So I think there's reason to think that. Now, in terms of what are those tangible wins? Okay, so Elon cutting $2 trillion through Doge. RFK on the FDA. Granted, yes, he is a leftist, but it's hard to take guns from the FDA. Tulsi on the transition team, who is compared to everybody else, dovish for sure. Having actual access to the president as a libertarian. Tucker Carlson being a person of influence there. Vivek Ramaswamy being a person of influence there. Freeing Ross, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, ending the war on Ukraine, leaving abortion to the states, potentially releasing the JFK and Epstein files, protecting Bitcoin and crypto, banning CBDCs, preventing Supreme Court packing, plus his history of good judge picks in the past, decriminalizing weed and school choice. Now, am I saying that all that shit's going to happen? No. But the fact is if a couple of them happen, if just freeing Ross happens, then it's better than we were going to get before. And compared to what? Compared to
all right,
what?
I'm gonna jump in here, Mike.
Sure.
Freeing Ross does nothing. Now, it is highly impactful. Hang on.
Would you tell his mother that?
I don't know. Wait, hold on 1 second, y'all.
Would you tell his mother that?
I gotta jump in too.
Because I
don't know if I agree with that, bro.
Hey, well,
does nothing?
Well, no. Ross should be freed, but it's not a pardon. It's a commuted sentence. He's still a felon in the eyes of the state. There will be no reforms. There will be zero reforms made. There have been zero reforms called for. So yes, it will impact Ross and his family, which would be great. But in the grand scheme of things, it does nothing. It's still, and you've heard Trump talk about how much he hates drugs. He's going to escalate the war on drugs. And honestly, he might even use it as an excuse to not free Ross. He wants to go to war. He wants to literally go to war in Mexico against drug cartels. And you're saying, oh, okay, he's going to free Ross.
Hold on, Dave. Hold on, Derek. Let him respond.
So a couple things there. One, my position is not that Trump is a libertarian. Okay, so like that, I don't have an expectation that he's going to be a libertarian. It's what wins can I get with what the chessboard has presented me. Okay, so that's what Jake or whatever, I'm sorry, I forget your name, was saying, is that we have to deal with the world as it is, right? And that's and maybe you've already kind of had this idea that politics isn't for you, and that's probably why, and that's okay. But my point is that one, Trump is open about voting for the weed legalization ballot initiative that's down there in Texas. And number two, again, I don't know if I'm the only one here who actually knows Ross's mother, but I'm just curious for everybody here. If Ross's mother went to you and looked you in the eye and say, I'm asking for your support of this to free my son. Would you really look her in the eye and say that's against my principles?
I had a dear friend of mine go to prison for 8.5 years for a crime he didn't commit, and I would have given anything to see that overturned, and I would have given anything to see him get out of prison. And so, would it break my heart to look in Ross Ulbricht's mother's eyes to say the pardoning of your son is not going to have far-reaching implications beyond you and your family? And I'm very sorry about that. And quite frankly, if Trump gets in, I really hope that he does follow through with that. But my big question is, why didn't he do it in his last term? It wasn't as though he didn't have the opportunity to do it. He just didn't do it. And now he's flinging around promises when it costs him nothing to do so, and he could very easily forget about that promise. Again, if he wins, right. I hope he does it. Hang on, let me
address that point, though.
You know why he didn't do it? Because he had no reason to do it. There was nobody in his ear spewing any sort of libertarian anything to him back then. Not a single person. Everyone in his cabinet were a bunch of neocons. And to be honest, I'm not really happy with some of the people on his campaign team because they're all a bunch of the second wave of the Southern Baptist Revolution, trying to legislate Christianity and all that shit. I'd like to see an end to the war on drugs. I'd like to see Ross friggin' freed. I think he'll do it. And you know what? I hope to God he gets to go home to his mama, because prison sucks. And I really don't care about the far-reaching implications of how he gets out of prison if he doesn't fucking deserve to be in prison, as long as he gets to go home.
Let's let Patrick chime in.
Go ahead,
Yeah, I know Lynn closely. I worked with her with my nonprofit to try and help her raise money when she sold the NFTs a couple years ago. I tried to help her do that in a way that wouldn't cause them to lose 40% of it to taxes. I am involved. I'm invested mentally and emotionally with Ross. He is a tech guy that codes for freedom, just like I've tried to do with my life, though not quite to the extreme awesome degree that he did. I very much could have been Ross. I am all about freeing Ross.
So what it sounds like to me is
Donald Trump murdered children.
And either him
Do you
and Kamala are going to
understand
be
that
president
for a
either way.
libertarian to co-sign his presidency is to debase everything we stand for?
Wait, co-sign?
I'm not a libertarian.
If it was my child in prison,
So-
I would not vote for a murderer even if it
Patrick-
meant their release. That is silly. That is absurd.
So, Patrick,
that is
hang
putting
on.
on the clown nose. Hang
on.
Listen.
There's a key
Let me get
view
this out.
here that we
almost
gotta get
done.
to the bottom
I'm
of.
almost done. When the Libertarian Party first started out, it was an activist mechanism, an activist vehicle for spreading our ideas.
Yep.
As soon as it flipped over to trying to be a political party and trying to get people elected, they immediately set a goal that was in conflict with their principles. And from that point forward has been the clown show that we have been watching for 30 years. And 30 years from now, we're going to be on some podcast laughing at what a clown show the Libertarian Party is, as long as it keeps trying to be something that is completely in contradiction with its principles.
So Patrick, I gotta jump in there and
I
ask you
completely
this.
agree with
Go
that.
for
Hold on 1 second. Hold on, guys. Hold on. I gotta ask this, Patrick. Do you identify as a libertarian?
Yes, I think a consistent libertarian is exactly the same as an anarcho-capitalist.
Okay.
If you hold libertarian
let's
principles
let Mike give his rebuttal to
you're
that,
an ANCAP.
and then I want to start transitioning. Let's give Mike a chance to give his rebuttal,
Sure.
and then let's
It is-
move forward with some other people that might have perspective.
For
on
me,
it.
it's more of a dialogue because you use the word cosign. I don't believe a vote is the same thing as a cosign. What is a vote? That's kind of what I was saying at the beginning of this. Is a vote like a tactical calculation, or is it like the ultimate expression of my beliefs and my principles?
It's an endorsement. It's a literal endorsement when you're voting
it's
for
not.
someone.
No,
yes,
it's not.
it is. Yes,
No,
it
it's
is,
not.
Michael.
It's a statement
you
of
cannot be
preference.
serious. You
No,
cannot
it's a
be
statement of
serious to say
preference
that
given
you're
that-
not endorsing someone by voting for them, bro.
It is
No, it's
material
not.
support to gaining power.
No, it's not. And again, you guys
you
are out
can't
of step
gain
with
power without
Lysander
it.
Spooner. You guys are out of
That
step with
makes it
Lysander
material
Spooner
support.
because if the government is forced, that means we're all under duress, right? So like we have to make decisions again within what real life is presented to us. So again, if it's like, hey, you're gonna either go to the hole for a month or you're gonna go for a hole or a week, what's your vote? He's like, I'm not endorsing going, or I'm not going to do this game. And are you endorsing being sent to the hole if you say I want one day? No, it's a statement of preference over what options are available.
So
and
what
so
you're
as
saying-
you've already,
It's giving
I haven't
consent.
finished. I have not finished. No, it's not.
Reclaim my time. Reclaim my time. What you're saying, Michael, is that the Libertarian Party
it's
is no longer the
self-defense
party of
was what
principle.
it
Then
is.
you're saying that the Libertarian Party is no longer the party of principle. Then because
No,
that's
I'm
really
not
what
spe-
the
I'm
yes
speaking-
you are. You're
I'm saying for my
I have
vote.
two different options and I'm choosing one over the other. That's not a principled stance. That's not when both those options are unprincipled.
real life-
that is not
real
a
life
principled
happens
stance.
regardless
and I
of
want to give you
that- of
another.
that
And I
abstraction.
want to give you another example of what you just said earlier about Trump endorsing school choice. The libertarian position is not school choice. The libertarian position is defunding the public schools. That
And
is
this is
the
why-
principled
and this is why a
position.
campaign
So
is
taking
going up.
So voting for someone that is school choice, that is not taking a principled position by definition. So can we just admit that you as a consultant for the Libertarian Party are saying that the Libertarian Party is no longer the party of principle under your strategy?
No, I'm
No.
saying that you are arguing something that I'm not saying. I'm saying
Can I
what
just-
are the
can I
wins in
just
real
throw out
life?
there, you're
I
not-
don't think it's
Wait,
healthy to be
wait.
a cynic at all
Hold
times
on.
for all
Everybody.
things.
Everybody
not-
wait. Everybody wait. I want to be very, very clear that everyone has the ability to express themselves, but we can't like straw man somebody's position and then jump on the straw man. That's not fair, right? So let's give Mike his rebut. Again, Mike seems to be the only person in the room that is on this position at this time, right?
Oh no,
So we want
I'm
to give him the
completely in
opportunity
agreement
to
with him.
express himself fully, and let's not like shift to where somebody's saying that that's not what they're saying. Mike, go ahead, and then let's
I'm
go
in
back
agreement
to
with
the next
Mike.
person that wants to rebut.
So what I would say is that ever since the caucus takeover of the party, the messaging has been way more on brand as far as pure principled messaging, and that is a role of the party. So again, what I'm saying is not all races are the same. President is unwinnable, and the tactical considerations that the Libertarian candidate ought to be affecting is not working this time around. It's unfortunately true. Like I appreciate him giving a good effort and everything, but it's just not working. So again, where can we extract value elsewhere? Are you telling me there's no value to all of these promises? The fact that Ron Paul is potentially more influential now within the party than he was in 2012, the fact that they have to pander to us at all, the fact that they need us, like that is a shift of the Overton window. Is there no value to Angela having a connection to them and having a libertarian in the ear while these things are going on? And to answer the question that you would ask earlier, Karlyn, is like, why didn't he do it before? Because they weren't open to us before like they are signaling now. So like it's the same reason why I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I didn't vote for Trump in 2020. I'm doing it now because the circumstances have changed through this unity movement and all of those factors that nobody addressed. That's the insane thing. Nobody has addressed the no tax on tips and all of this stuff. It's just casually brushed away as he's not going to do it, which is a subjective opinion. Maybe he's going to do some, maybe he won't. But I know what I'm going to get if I don't take a swing on that, which is nothing. We're going to get we're going to get Trump or Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, I think, is objectively worse, and you 100% get nothing, whereas you might get nothing through having this voice and having this influence.
Julian, I want you to jump in real quick because I erroneously stated it sounds like Mike is the only one on this perspective, but that's not accurate. I want to hear your perspective and push back on where we're going right now as well.
No, I'm completely on board with Mike. I think he's right. I also agree with Patrick's last statement when it came to the conflict between running candidates, which is you have to be extremely pragmatic about everything you do, say in your strategy versus getting to be an activist. When you're an activist, you get to say and do whatever the hell you want. You don't have to worry about tangible. It's one of the luxuries of getting to have a podcast is I could scream at the top of my lungs about whatever the hell I want. But when I become a political strategist or I am a candidate, now I have to be cognizant of everything that comes out of my mouth. I agree with Mike when it comes to the libertarian movement actually gaining ground and gaining relevancy within the overall culture and moving the Overton window throughout society, because especially after COVID, where the vast majority of the country got a strong dose of tyranny and a lot of Republicans woke up and finally started to realize, oh shit, our side is willing to rip people out of cars and beat their asses in the middle of shopping centers or church parking lots for not wearing a mask while socially distanced in a vehicle with an AC on with a fucking filter. So
Can I ask a question? Oh, sorry.
I'm completely on board with Mike when it comes to work together to the degree that we could possibly get anything done in the right direction of creating more liberty and creating more accountability and more transparency, more efficiency in the government. And because you're not going to get it all. And I don't want to be that guy who looks at my kids 20 years from now when they have nothing and we're utterly fucked as a country and we're not anywhere close to liberty, and sit there and go, what did you do when this was going down? Oh, I screamed the loudest in a room full of people who universally agree with me.
So this is the question now. We get to ask this question because obviously it's a polarizing topic, and these things are coming from what it seems to me like as a person. Let's say I'm on the outside looking in. It looks as if fractions, maybe like the Mises Caucus, and maybe people disliking certain things, and which Mike is the founder of, is that what's polarizing the actual Libertarian Party and movement, or are we, even like in this conversation, are we helping to sharpen the focus? So that's the question I want to ask. Are factions like the Mises Caucus polarizing and fragmenting the party, or are they helping to sharpen the focus and the tactical approach? Anybody jump in whenever you want.
I think that the Mises Caucus has completely destroyed the Libertarian Party in the direction that they've taken in the last 2 years. And the reason I say that is we have a chair of the Libertarian Party who was supposed to be here, who is not here, who has been derelict in her duty to support the official presidential candidate, and probably in many other places as well, including turning the Libertarian National Convention into a flipping Trump rally, which he had no business being there. Trump was literally demeaning libertarians from the stage at the Libertarian Convention. That was shameful, and it was completely unnecessary, and it was not relevant to the business that is supposed to take place at the convention, which was nominating the frickin' presidential candidate, which ended up being Chase Oliver. And you guys might not like that, but that was the candidate you got. It was Angela's job to support him, and I think Angela's behavior this entire election cycle has almost like irreversibly, at least for the foreseeable future, fractured the Libertarian Party. It's also proved all of the Mises Caucus haters right, that it was just a Trump infiltration to begin with, and I think that Angela, if she had wanted to work for RFK or Trump, she should have resigned and gone and done that.
So
Anybody else?
Trump at the
Karlyn.
convention was absolutely brilliant. Can you imagine this man who has an ego the size of the continental United States standing in front of libertarians, being that measuring stick, which should be our actual goal and purpose, being booed for 45 minutes straight? Is there any better use of the Libertarian Convention than booing Trump for 45 minutes straight?
So wait.
Fantastic.
Good. Okay,
I gotta be
Absolutely
honest.
fantastic.
I gotta
Go
be
ahead.
honest. I was there. There was boos when he said the right thing. There was support when boos when he said the wrong thing, and support when he said the right thing. In my opinion,
That's the
I was
goal.
there. I was front and center.
You know
That's
my
the
favorite thing.
success.
You know my favorite thing about that event was, Maj, and you were there. You were standing right behind me. Is that these libertarian chants would be going on, like "end the Fed," right, and stuff like that. And it was such an interesting event because the room was half Trump, half libertarian, and there was Trump people, like a woman in front of you, like, what are they saying? And I would tap her on the shoulder and I would say, it's "end the Fed." You know, like when they're talking about the Federal Reserve, end the Federal Reserve. Right. And then she would look at me and goes, oh, cool. And I think that that's the greatest part of it, is that it provided this opportunity to get out of our little echo chamber, our little abstractions here, and actually talk to people and move the Overton window. And that's what I think is going on with this whole unity movement, and the fact, and nobody has still addressed all of the promises, the fact that Ron Paul is being tapped to come into this thing, the cutting of costs. It's all been bringing into this. They're not 100% libertarian and we shouldn't do it and all of that kind of thing. So what I would say to this position is, what is your plan for liberty in real life, given the realities of the situation in front of us? What is your plan to tangibly and actually affect liberty in real life with the situation we have in front of us?
Let's talk about
having a voice, all of that stuff.
Let's talk about Doge for a second. First of all, it's a fucking meme. He's making the government into a meme in a serious way. No, it's not. It would be if it was a troll, but he's dead serious about this. And here's the problem. You can't create a new department without congressional approval because they have to be the ones to fund it. And then you create this new department. They can't actually cut anything because funds have already been allocated to those departments. So all the best that this Department of Government Efficiency, which is a fucking oxymoron anyway, can do is, at best, make recommendations to Congress, and Congress will look at them and table them. But let's say just as an example, you do win. Let's say he unilaterally creates this Doge fucking department, and they start cutting things unilaterally. Well, guess what? Now your political enemies have that same weapon, and they could use it against you. And they can use it in a way unprecedented, because now you have set the precedent that, the executive branch now has the power of the purse, and they can do whatever they want.
Warfare going on. What are you talking about? It's already gone.
No, but you're not seeing how your enemies can use it against you
and you're
to
not seeing
fund
the reality
things.
of real life. I understand all the high-mindedness stuff, and that's my North Star too. But again, what is the plan for liberty in real life right now?
It isn't fucking Trump. It isn't Donald Trump.
I gotta be honest with you though, Derek. I gotta be honest, bro. You sounded like when you ask a person, the Kamala people, you ask them something and they say, well, Trump. Mike's asking a very practical question. What is your practical, as someone that shoots, right? As someone that says, how do we go outside, come back alive? We need an actual plan for that, right? When Mike is asking you that, you kind of going, well, it's not Trump. Okay, but what is it? You got to say the actual terms.
All right, fine. The solution to government is not government. The solution is abolishing government. You can't do that with government.
on offer?
It's like infiltrating the mafia to change the mafia from within. You're not going to do it.
How do you abolish government?
So actually, that's not true. Like, there's multiple nullification efforts that pass all the time. There's multiple gun sanctuary efforts that go on, drug sanctuary, drug decriminalization, all of that stuff. So this idea that it can't be done is just ridiculous. It happens mostly at the state level, which is why outside of this narrow frame that we're talking about with the presidential thing is why I'm working on local, like city council, mayor, school board elections, things like that, pushing that strategy to get people in there to decentralize the government through radical nullification through the 10th Amendment. So we're only talking about one layer of strategy here. Now, within that layer, though, because that's the topic of the conversation, are you saying that they're absolutely equal, even though I outlined all of this stuff? There's just not one thing here that we could potentially get and that would maybe be a little bit better than the other? Like, it's okay to say, to live in the real world and say, one tyranny is less than the other. Because again, no one's saying he's a libertarian.
All right, Mike.
Where do we have a voice?
Then if your strategy moving forward is that we need to take whatever is realistic, then you have no business being in the Libertarian Party. Go be a Republican. Because that's what your strategy is saying. It's saying, oh, we can't do it with the Libertarian Party. We might have his ear. He isn't going to give a shit about you.
No, because
you're pathetic to him.
These concessions were leveraged by the Libertarian Party. There's a reason why the chair of the Libertarian Party is the one with a picture at Mar-a-Lago and none of the influencers, because we are an important voting bloc and they know that. So now we're in a position, and so that fact plus the fact that the fact that the culture has moved in our direction means that our influence is growing, and now we actually have the chance to wield that influence. Are we going to get Antapistan with that right now? No, but can we get Ross? Can we get one thing? Can we get a voice in the thing? It looks like that's yes. And I think the fundamental difference here is you guys are completely cynical, and I'm not. I want to have hope. I want to get a win. I want to see one good thing happen. I want to follow up on the opportunities where they exist. I don't want to just invent reasons through my principles to say nothing good will ever happen. I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing to be an ideologue.
I love how you put a sarcastic
let me stop right there.
tone
Let me jump in
with
real
my
quick,
principles.
guys. So look. So we right now we're arguing that position. So let me ask this different question. Are there any shared principles between the Trump administration or Trump, right, and libertarian ideals that would justify some sort of collaboration? Because I hear both sides of the argument saying
positions maybe there's a couple positions, but principles probably not.
Hold on one second, because I hear, I'm gonna be real, I'm hearing a lot of black pill shit coming from the anti side. I'm hearing a lot of black pill, right? Well, he can't, and he's a politician, and never trust a politician. And I'm with you. Sometimes I'm just waiting for the lights to go out to see how this gas mask and these quads is going to get down. Like, okay, right?
Here's the thing.
However, let's switch gears. Are there some sort of shared principles between Trump and libertarian ideals that justify collaboration, or is there not enough?
Well, as Mike said, positions, principles, no. Positions, maybe. And we've pretty much established that the tactic of the Libertarian Party is to sell out your principles on a maybe.
That we have not established that, bro. We have not established that. That's just some shit you saying. And you actually kind of giving Mike a point there, because you coming off real cynical.
You sound like an ideologue.
And it's like, no.
I sound like a person with principles.
Yeah,
I want somebody else to jump in and answer that question.
My principles say I want Ross free, and I'm not getting that from anywhere on offer right now. There's nothing on the current chessboard.
Chase
that can
Oliver
get me Ross
said he
free.
would.
But that's not in reality. Like, that would be great if that could actually happen on this one, because
on this one issue that is not going to affect anyone else except for
No,
Ross
I'll read
and
it
his
again.
family.
No,
That's
so
what
hold on,
No.
Karlyn. Let Karlyn jump in here. She hasn't said anything in a while. want to go back to Julian and then Patrick.
The thing of it is, I actually agree with what Derek said, to be honest with you. Now, if Trump got in, and if there is opportunity to work with Trump when he gets in, and quite frankly, it looks like he's probably going to, yeah, fine, of course, do it. But the thing of it is Trump is not a libertarian. Regardless of if Trump or Kamala gets in, we're probably going to war with Iran. And listen, I think that the biggest problem that we have in the country is the radical revolutionary far left owning the public schools, owning the colleges and the universities, owning the news media, owning big tech. And I can tell you guys, as someone who literally spends 6 days a week, hours a day, studying and dissecting the organizing tactics of the radical revolutionary far left, Trump has no flipping clue about any of it. He's not going to do anything to stop it. He doesn't understand it. He's not going to defund the public schools. He might ding around with the Department of Ed, but I don't even think he's going to defund that. And so I do think that we are entering into a very black 4-year span, regardless of who wins. And again, I do think Trump would be like marginally better, but the fact of the matter is I don't think that there is a libertarian reason to support him. Everyone has to decide who to vote for based on whatever principles they decide. If you guys want to sell your libertarian principles out to vote for Trump, go for it. But I'm not going to look in the mirror and sell out
wait, Karlyn,
I don't even care about.
I gotta jump in. I gotta jump in.
Masquerading as an argument because, like,
so wait. Pause, everybody.
It's a massive difference. Having Clint and Dave being friends with Vivek and all of these people, having Angela have access, you're telling me that's not a meaningful difference from the other alternative?
No, I don't, and I'm friends with Vivek too, Mike, and it doesn't make a difference.
Then
Listen,
wield your influence. Do something for liberty with that. Why would you turn that away?
I fight the radical revolutionary far left 6 days a week and teach hundreds of thousands of people a month. That's my contribution.
And that's great on your YouTube channel, but we're talking about the halls of power. You're telling me you have a voice, you potentially have a voice in the halls of power,
Trump
and you're black-pilled on yourself? That's unthinkable compared to 20 years ago. It's unthinkable 20 years ago that libertarians would be in a position that you just said you yourself had.
You're the one who spent this entire debate saying we need to be realistic, we need to be realistic, we need to be realistic. I know what Trump is realistically going to do, and I know what he's realistically not going to do. And he's not going to do anything on the issues I care about, so I'm not going to sell my soul to vote for him because maybe he'll free Ross Ulbricht, maybe he won't. I pray he does, but I'm not going to sell my soul to vote for him.
So, real quick, pause real quick. I'll do. Wait. Everybody, hold up for 1 second. I do think that I want to get Patrick's perspective here, but I gotta be honest, man. Y'all kind of leading the witness a little bit when you say, "Oh, somebody's selling their soul in order to do this." This is some people just have a different tactic or a different strategy. So I do think y'all leading the witness a little bit, right? And the witness being the audience, right? Speaking of the audience, everybody that's in the chat right now, make sure you hit the like button, hit the like button. Share this all over the place. It's going to be a very, very lively conversation continuing. Patrick, I want you to jump in, then I want to go back to Julian. Patrick, jump in and share your perspective.
1 second, real quick. I have a hard stop.
Wait,
I have to leave.
Derek,
I
wait, you gotta wait.
I have to leave.
I got you.
Okay, bye.
Go ahead.
I am very hopeful. I interviewed a guy named Mark Maresca recently on the Anarchast who writes a journal called The White Pill, where he compiles a list of everything that's going great for the liberty movement. And wow, it was water on a desert that was my blackened soul after a while of just living the liberty movement. There are a lot of reasons to be hopeful. And as far as a strategy, a proactive, specific strategy for working, it's kind of the same as the opposition. It's everything, every possible way, all the time. We need to infiltrate institutions. We need to call them out when they're doing evil. We need to be the moral measuring stick in the room. The government does nothing right. It messes up constantly, daily. We need to be there loudly pointing and laughing and pointing and calling them out when they hurt people and murder children like Trump did in 2017. Or squirrels. People are waking up. Our ideas are spreading wider than they ever have. Like, to be black-pilled right now is to kind of be disconnected from reality. And we have to be honest and say, in part, that's to do with the Libertarian Party and their sucking voters into their Robert's Rules-fueled clown shows. That I participated in. Look, I'm laughing at myself too, but it does provide like an entryway for normie statists, normal people from the R's and the D's that are disenfranchised with that clown show to bring them into this sort of lightweight clown show to ease them in, to introduce them into the ideas of liberty. It's like the wide end of the funnel. We bring them into the party, and then we get the principled people that actually know what liberty means and how to live it and how to spread it, and we can, lead them down the path towards exposing more people to our ideas. I'm very.
It sounds
hopeful.
to me, Julian, I want you to jump in here, but it sounds to me, Patrick, like you're actually might be doing a bit of a 180. I don't know if you're 180 all the way yet, but you might be at like 70 degrees. That's just what I'm seeing right now. Julian, jump in here real quick.
I teeter back and forth between white pill and black pill, honestly. I have moments every day where I sit down, and that's like my hour a day where I sit down and I drink a glass of bourbon and I smoke a cigar and I collect my brain and be like, you know what? You had 23 hours of a solid fight today. Let's go out and fight tomorrow. And I'm going to be honest with you. Like Derek just said, or I'm sorry, Patrick just said, I've never seen more people craving for liberty. The problem is libertarians don't spend more time marketing a solution than they do identifying the problem. And this is something that's not just libertarians. I argue this at Republicans as a whole. The entirety of the right side of the aisle, or if you're going on the original liberty to tyranny spectrum, left side of the aisle, the liberal side of the aisle. If you believe in liberty, you're not spending more time marketing solutions than identifying problems. Here's the issue with that. That means you're attacking your opponent more than you're talking about how you're going to save the day, which from a marketing perspective turns off sales. And politics is sales. It is a sales campaign for a product or a service, as in serve us. And what you actually end up getting is you turn off voters and you make them pessimistic, and pessimistic people don't show up at the polls. Best case scenario, they may not vote for your opponent, but you in no way, shape, or form gave them a reason to vote for you. Even if you're lying out of your ass, you have to give them something to shoot for. So the candidate who's running on something, who's running for something, will beat the candidate who's running sheerly against something.
Well, that's going to be
Believe
tested
it or
tomorrow.
not, in 2020, Biden ran his campaign from his basement, and the media helped him, and Hollywood helped him, and the social media activists helped him. They ran it from his basement, saying he was the solution to COVID. That Trump fucked up COVID. That the last 4 years of riots and mayhem, that Biden was the solution. And all Biden had to do was just mumble in his basement and not say anything on camera.
Can I give a little bit of a
Now
white pill?
everything is a little bit different. Kamala is an absolute disaster, and she's an outright socialist. Socialist.
No, she's not. No, she's not. She's really not. But I want to give a white pill because I know I was a little bit of a black cloud of doom like a moment ago, and so I'll give a white pill.
You deserve to be a black pill with all the shit you went through.
Hey, Julian, I love you. I really do. You know I do, bro, even when we disagree. But what I will say is, listen, I think that the next 4 years are going to be a golden opportunity for people to contribute to the cause in however they want to as an individual. I don't think the Libertarian Party is going to do it. I don't think Trump's going to do it. If Kamala gets in, I don't think she's going to do it. But where the opportunity is, and this is something where I do actually agree with Michael on, I think the opportunity is in local and state politics, and I think that individuals can do things on their own. This is why I spend my time doing what I do. I do the journalism that I do to educate people about what is going on in the radical revolutionary left, because that's the problem that I care about. Is Trump going to fix the problem I care about? No. Is Kamala going to fix the problem I care about? She's not a communist, but no, she's not going to fix the problem. But we can all contribute in the way that we can, and I think that's where the white pill comes comes in. We need to acknowledge that presidential politics is not going to get us there in any way, because we have two establishment politicians, and no matter which one of them gets in, they're going to be controlled by the establishment. And there is freedom in that once you realize that no one is coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. And this is why I say people need to decide for themselves on what criteria they vote. But personally, I don't believe in selling out principles that I actually have stood for 20 years of my life for the sake of getting someone in that I don't think is going to solve the problems that I care about.
I agree with you, but can I add something here? Because this is where I wanted to chime in earlier. You're not selling out your principles if you're working a long-term strategy. You're only selling out your principles if every single election is the end-all, be-all. That is the problem with the entire liberty side of the aisle, is the left is working on a 100-year plan, and they're 95% of the way done, and we're trying to get everything in one cycle, and as soon as the cycle ends, we repeat the cycle all over again. We work on 2 to 4 year election cycles. They have a 100-year plan they've been implementing for years since the academics wrote it back when Marx was in his fucking heyday, before it had been debunked by World War II and World War I, in multiple countries in Africa and South America collapsing one after the other. What I'm saying is there's an opportunity if you're always looking forward towards what is my next step. We need to play chess instead of Candyland.
So I have a question that I would like to ask, because I have a suspicion as to where this selling out principle concept is coming from. And I alluded to this in my introduction. Can everybody here please answer the question of what is a vote? Like what exactly is a vote? What are you trying to achieve with a vote? Are you coming from the position that should libertarians not be voting, or okay, it's okay to vote, but Trump doesn't meet the threshold? Like, what is a vote? And my answer to that is it is a tactical calculation where I state my preferences given what is on offer. There is tactical value of voting libertarian, and that is what I have done the past 2 election cycles. Unfortunately, there does not seem to be any return on value that is likely to come from doing that this time around. It doesn't look like we're getting ballot access. We're losing as opposed to gaining members and all of this stuff. So I'm going to look for value where else I can get it. And where I see it, as flawed as it might be right now, is having a voice in the cabinet, freeing Ross, and getting any of these other things that has still not been addressed. But what is a vote?
Props to Michael for asking that question that we probably should have covered earlier. That's a really important one for this discussion. So there's 2 questions you have to ask. The first question is, does a vote determine who gets presidential power? If your answer is no, you're probably not going to vote. This is an irrelevant discussion for you. You can vote or not vote. It's kind of equivalent to your opinion on the best Metallica album. If a vote does determine in some way who gets presidential power, then we must take that as an effect of our actions, an effect that we own and are culpable for, just like any other action we take in the world. If I take an action and my neighbor's window gets broken as a result of it, I am culpable for my neighbor's broken window, and I've got to take care of that. I've got to handle it and make restitution. So if votes determine in some way, to some degree, electoral college clown show, sure. But if your vote matters, if it has an effect, you own that effect. You're responsible for it. It's more than just like a suggestion or a mere opinion on which evil is less bad. It is you putting your actions behind somebody getting power. You are culpable for the effects of that action. If that action results in murdered children, you are co-culpable as a co-conspirator in that crime because you helped make it happen. And I have not heard. Go ahead.
Do I get to say that, like, you want Ross in jail if you don't vote, like, for Trump? Do I get to say that to you the way that you keep trying to do this thing to me?
Yes.
I'm not trying to do anything.
No. You've said it like 4 times
on what voting means.
Yeah, but by your own logic, you want Ross by not voting for the chance that Ross has to be freed. So please don't do that to me, because it's disingenuous.
No. What's disingenuous is conflating not taking an action with taking an action. So if I voted for Kamala,
right. So if you could take action to free somebody, you don't do it.
But I'm not voting for Kamala. I'm not voting at all for either of the coercive, aggressive candidates with body counts behind them. I'm not doing evil.
Okay, so you're not doing something that could free Ross.
Evil.
Yeah, so you're not doing something that could free Ross. And we could, and I don't want to go in this circle because I don't even believe in that argument.
Correct.
I just am trying to,
You not believing in it doesn't make it false.
So let me ask this.
If good men do nothing, does it not benefit evil regardless?
If good men don't do evil, does it benefit evil in some circumstances?
If good men do nothing, does it not benefit evil regardless? Don't change my words. I said exactly what I said, and I meant exactly what I said.
I'm clarifying what you said because not voting is to not do nothing. It's also to not do evil. It's the same thing. Not doing evil and not doing anything are equivalent. You're not doing something.
Okay, listen, you fucking philosophical fucking, you guys read books and shit.
All of this is buttressed by compared to what? And that's where the rubber meets the road. And that's why I keep talking about this. I would I'm not going to get taxable value out of the LP vote. So my duty is how can I expand liberty in real life? The philosophical thing, as far as I'm concerned, that's covered. The messaging is where it's at, all of that stuff. But then it's the political side of it. What is on offer on the chessboard in front of me? And in simplest terms, I have a maybe I can get something or a couple of things from one side, and a guarantee that I get nothing from the other side.
You are not running an independent political organization, Michael. You are a paid consultant for the Libertarian Party. Angela is the chair of the Libertarian Party.
But that's a partisan argument, not a political.
Political organization. The job of the political party is to run political candidates and to support the political candidates that the party is running.
And so if you are
operating independently just with your dissident media stuff, okay, fine. I cannot wrap my head around that. But you are taking the money of the members of the Libertarian Party to pay your salary to support the Libertarian Party. Trump does not support the Libertarian Party as a political organization. Why don't you guys just disband the Libertarian Party altogether if this is how you're going to operate? Because I don't want the Libertarian Party supporting Donald Trump. I want the Libertarian Party supporting the candidate that was nominated at the Libertarian Convention by the will of the delegates.
And that's why they helped get him on the ballot. And you know who else helped get him on the ballot here in PA? Trump. So,
how did that work out for Karen Ann Harlos, helping to get Chase Oliver on the ballot?
She didn't help to get Chase Oliver on the ballot.
She did get him on the ballot in Colorado. She is the reason he is on the ballot in Colorado.
Well, I think it worked out fine for her. She's the one launching lawsuits. But all of this is not a principled argument. It's a partisan argument. And they're not the same thing. That's why I'm saying I'm totally open
One of us is saying we're in favor of school choice, which we're not. I'm saying we're in favor of defunding the schools. One of us is saying if we can get one person freed from jail, which would make him and his mother really happy, but getting no more far-reaching implications, that's cool, and we will sacrifice going to war with Iran on behalf of Israel for that. And again, I still can't wrap my head around the fact that you guys are supporting a candidate that is going to take our sons and daughters into war, killing God knows how many of them, on behalf of a foreign entity.
Yeah,
we're going there regardless. We're going there regardless. I hate to tell you, I'm not
voting for it either way.
As somebody who's been to the sandbox and lost my brothers and sisters, we're going. I don't want to go, but we're going. No matter who gets into office. And unfortunately, even if everybody who believed in liberty in the entire country were to pull their votes together, would not get Chase Oliver elected. They wouldn't do it. However, in a war, who is the most likely to complete the war in any sort of timely fashion that culminates in the least amount of American lives dead? It is going to be Trump versus Kamala. Why? Because I know the generals. Why? Because I know who the generals are that Kamala is about to appoint. If she, or the generals that are already appointed, if she's elected to office, and I know the generals who are Trump are about to appoint.
Down with a libertarian in the room.
War is war. You asked what a vote was in my
mind. No, all wars are not the same. And only somebody who's never been to war can say that.
We are not at war.
I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to war. I want a libertarian in the room to dissuade that. I think the chances of this go down if you have a libertarian in the room.
Can we get back to
who's going to be the libertarian in the room? Are you talking about RFK? RFK is not a libertarian. Are you
I'm talking about Angela, the one who is actually literally
Angela's
at the table
not
with
going
Trump.
to be in the cabinet.
We
Do
have
you
a
think that Trump is ever going to take Angela's call again after he gets the votes? No,
but
he's
that's
not.
but again that it's okay, but just to have
You
that
think
argument, but
Susie
just to say,
Wild,
but
as
just
Trump's chief of staff, is going to let
but
Angela's
just
call through?
but
No,
it's
she
okay
is
to have
not.
that position.
Actually,
Just
the people
understand
who
that is a
got Trump
subjective
elected in
opinion based on
2016 and in
cynicism.
22,
We don't know.
actually, the people who got Trump elected in 2016 had unfettered access to Trump in the White House,
And this is a Ron Paul argument.
and that was not a good thing.
What happens if I'm right? A lot of good things. What happens if I'm wrong? The exact same thing is as what you're proposing. And so it washes out in the end anyway. So why not take a swing on the upside? Why not take a swing on having a voice in that room to try to dissuade this shit, to free Ross, to do all of the stuff that is still, as of yet, for the fifth time, unaddressed.
And this is why Nick Fuentes is a more staunch anti-war advocate right now than the entire Libertarian Party. And every Libertarian should be shamed by that fact alone. You asked what a vote was earlier, Maj. A vote is something personal to everyone. Everyone votes a certain way for a certain reason, and quite frankly, no one should be telling anyone what a vote is to them. But for me, a vote is an endorsement, and I'm not going to look in my mirror and know that I voted to go to war with Iran. I'm not going to vote for Kamala. I'm not going to vote for Trump, because we're going regardless. And again, anti-war has been one of my positions from the very beginning of my political journey. I'm not voting for that shit.
I'll be honest. For me, a vote is a chess move.
Got a quick question, super chat. Does Karlyn agree that this is the most attention the libertarians have gotten, and how does she feel about that?
I don't actually. Well, I mean, maybe, I don't know. I would have to actually think about that. But from a strategic perspective, is that a good thing? Has that been positive attention? Is it positive attention that most Trump supporters believe that libertarians and conservatives are the same thing? Is it a positive thing that most Trump supporters don't know what the principal differences are between MAGA and an anarcho-capitalist? I don't personally think that that's a good thing. I don't think there is such a thing as a conservative who leans libertarian. I think you are a libertarian or you are not a libertarian, and it is very simple.
Good question. I want to ask this because you guys have been going into something that's making me think about this question here. How can the Libertarian Party maintain a clear identity with so many factions? And if that is possible, the Trump administration and guys can find a common ground. What's the line that the LP should never cross, even in the pursuit of growth or influence? So if we got some of these so-called common grounds, right? We got these common grounds. What's the line? Where is that line? Because I think I'm seeing us have robust conversation around things that are in agreement and disagreement in certain areas. Where is our common ground that says, okay, if the stars line up and, Trump does what he says, right? Which is to everybody has to have at least a side eye or a roll of the eye to that statement. Trump does exactly what he says, right? What is the line? What is the line that we should not cross, even in pursuit of growing the movement and or the party? What does that look like?
War.
I'll go with strict constitutionalism. I want to get back to the Constitution, and anything that takes me a step closer to that is a good thing.
Okay. Karlyn?
I think the line we cross is war, honestly. We should be supporting an anti-war candidate. I mean, it is one of the foundational principles of the party. It's really that simple.
Okay.
It used to be one of the foundational principles of the Republican Party, the original Republican Party.
Not anymore.
No, definitely not anymore.
Patrick?
You asked two questions. What was the first one? I forgot it.
Well, scratch the first one. We'll go to that one. I think this one's more pertinent. What's the line? What's the line if the stars line up? If everybody does, what's the line that the LP should not cross?
The LP should never endorse any candidate or support any candidate that supports initiating aggression.
Fair, Mike.
That is the libertarian principle. If you violate that, then you're not libertarian.
Initiating.
Mike?
Okay, so I would say no longer promoting libertarian principles. I mean, the party is doing that, but coalitioning on tangible wins is not the same thing as no longer endorsing the thing. This is going back to the Rothbard article of the case for radical idealism. You should fight. We should always fight for what you want. We should fight for ancapistate. We should fight for, the purest of principles. But along the way, we should take what we can get in real life and keep pushing. And that's what I think is going on right now. And as far as the anti-war thing, the party has adopted Defend the Guard as one of its official issue coalitions. I'm in the middle of standing up the Defend the Guard campaign through the party, like right now. So I don't know who else is doing that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
If a part of the non-aggression principle is that you're not supposed to initiate force, if somebody threatens to show up at my house, kill my wife, rape my daughters, burn my house down, and I shoot them before they shoot me, am I initiating force?
Oh, I don't want to do Libertarian 101. It's boring.
Or am I acting as a reasonable and prudent person would?
You're welcome to. I'm happy to chat with you about that. Do we want to do that now?
Oh, can we please not? Can we please
No.
not?
I'm happy to chat with you about that some other time.
We all agree.
No, I
on
mean,
this. Can we not?
I'm throwing out the author from a Marine Corps perspective, which our authorization for deadly force is higher than any law enforcement in the country, because we don't get a second shot at it. No matter what, if you screw up, you're going to the brig, and nobody gives a shit, and there's no qualified immunity.
Maj, I invite you to chat with me about that on my show, offline, on voice chat on Discord. I'm happy to talk with you about it.
Let me say this to everybody.
If a reasonable and prudent person were to consider action or a phrase to elicit violence, and that violence comes to you and you still engage, that violence comes to you as a result of you still engaging in that illicit action or phrase, you did not commit violence against that person unwantingly. They asked for it. So if I tell you, if you show up at my house,
can I ask another question? Kind of like the vote question.
Real quick, I want to jump in here real quick. Let's say if the Mises Caucus fails to achieve the goals, right? What's next for the party? Because from what it sounds like to me, there's a lot riding on this situation. There's a lot riding on if main man get in there. That's the first ride. Second ride is if he get in there and do what he say he's gonna do. Second ride. If this is a failure, what's next for the party? I want everybody to give their perspective on it.
The Mises Caucus has already failed because the chair of the Libertarian Party that was the Mises Caucus candidate is literally endorsing another candidate for president and has been working with other campaigns that are not the Libertarian candidate. And my understanding,
so from your perspective, the failure is the attempt a different thing to get a different win. But that may not be the failure.
No. So my understanding of the original goal of the Mises Caucus was to remake the Libertarian Party that had been taken over by awful people to actually have it be libertarian again. And when I signed on to that, what I wanted was for the Libertarian Party to support libertarian candidates and support libertarian ideals. And quite frankly, that's not what is happening now. And I feel that Angela should resign her position. She's not supporting the libertarian candidate. That's like her one job as the chair of the party. And quite frankly, listen, there was so much opportunity when the Mises Caucus took over. I was completely disappointed in the way it's turned out, but I don't think that we can count the current Mises Caucus takeover as successful because they're literally supporting Donald Trump for president.
If you're an employee of a party, you do not get to have a personal opinion. You are supposed to be supporting the party. When I work for a candidate, my opinions go out the window. I am supposed to support that candidate. Behind closed doors, I will chew my candidate's ass. That is a condition of my employment, is that I will tell you how fucked up you are. However, when you're an employee of the party, you are supposed to do the party's work, which means you cannot be seen out there endorsing another candidate of another party who conflicts with your own party's candidate. I don't care whether you agree with it on strategy means. It's not about what your personal strategy is or behind the scenes strategy is. It's about the principle of doing a job for a specific reason.
Both of y'all gave me great, eloquent answers to the question that was not asked. I appreciate you all because you guys are so smart. Fucking libertarians, so smart. My question is, if it fails, based on your definition of failure, what is next for the party? What's next?
The party's going to have to sit down and decide whether it wants to be a movement or it wants to elect libertarians to federal office.
Well,
That's what it is. I think Patrick laid it out at the beginning of the. You have a founding of the party was supposed to be a movement, which means their job is to move the Overton window. If you're trying to be a candidate and elect people to office, you can't do both because you're always going to have to tamp down what you say in order to be pragmatic to get things done.
So that's another question. So does that mean, is that the reason why these factions, because these are almost like square peg round hole philosophical arguments? So can the Libertarian Party maintain that clear identity having so many factions? I mean, pragmatic, such and such, da 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 da. Is that possible, or is it just a done? Does it need to split and splinter and forever be damned? You guys are over here. You guys are over here.
I mean,
because the Libertarian Party can't even agree on a solid platform where the factions are not completely at odds with the other portions of the factions, because they're taking from the left, they're taking from the right. You have automatic contentions going right there, and then you have heretical libertarians who have always been there, who are steeped in principles. It's the issue comes down to, you can only be pragmatic to the degree that you have a long-term strategy, and unless there is a long-term strategy, you cannot execute anything in even a remotely pragmatic manner.
I'm sorry,
Who wants to jump in on that?
Julian's just mistaken there, though, because the Libertarian Party does have an agreed-upon platform. It's literally decided at convention. Now, not everyone might be on board with that platform, but that is the platform of the party. And so that's what the delegates decide. That's just where it goes. Like, and you win some, you lose some. You might not like everything, but you should be on board with the general gist of the thing. I'll tell you what I think is, like, the worst-case scenario, Maj. The worst-case scenario is that Nick Sarwark and the people of his ilk come back in the ashes of the Mises Caucus takeover, and they take over again. I think that that's actually worst case scenario. What I would like is if people would, quite frankly, remove their heads from their asses and start actually working together to prevent that from happening, because the amount of infighting, and I know you kind of agree with me on this, Maj, to be honest with you, the amount of infighting that takes place in the Libertarian Party is, quite frankly, pathetic. It is a group of adults that constantly gets off on how can we undermine each other, and I think that, and this is one of the reasons I kind of stopped associating with it, because you just can't get anything done. And I think if there, and that was honestly one of the great things about the Mises Caucus takeover in 2022, because Mike, you were an amazing organizer around that in 2022. You were on point. You organized all these people. You had all these great meetings. Everyone knew who the enemy was. Everyone knew what had to be done. It was an impeccable effort, and it was amazing, and it was a miracle that you actually pulled it off, and I was so happy when you did it. But since then, the focus has moved from how to, and listen, I don't want to make it seem as though the Mises Caucus hasn't had challenges. The amount of haters of the Mises Caucus is absolutely one of the reasons that this hasn't worked out as well as it could have, and quite frankly, they should have gotten on board as well and just gone along with the direction of the party and supported it in the best that they could. So I'm not on their side either, but I think that everyone needs to be an adult in the room and say, we do have a real enemy, and that enemy is not other libertarians. That enemy is the state, and for once we need to focus on the enemy that actually matters.
Next. Pat, jump in, Pat, and then we'll go Mike, and then we'll start wrapping up.
Oh man, there's so many things to talk about. Let me so the Libertarian Party is a political party, not a private club, and so it has a built-in lack of ability to gatekeep its membership. Anybody can join, and if anybody can get votes from delegates, holding or not holding, not even knowing what a libertarian principle is, and you can rise to the level of a endorsed, running, on the ballot libertarian candidate without even knowing what the non-aggression principle is. That is an intractable problem for any political institution. You cannot really gatekeep. That means that this problem is never going to go away. You're always going to have conflict between some people who are less familiar with the principles than others. I think we have to just sort of embrace that infighting in a positive way and try and lean into the positive side of it. Hey, I see that you might have some inconsistencies in your understanding of libertarian principle. Let's talk about it. Use it as an additional the goal of the Libertarian Party, in my opinion, should be the outreach, should be the movement. And a lot of that work happens on the inside of the Libertarian Party because I would say the majority of Libertarian membership, party membership, doesn't have really good familiarity with the conclusions that fall out of our principles. And so a lot of our outreach, a lot of the reason to run this in this nonsense political clown show is to have those people join up to work towards liberty and then usher them closer to our conclusions. It does get nasty, and it will never not be nasty because you can't gatekeep the organization by its very nature. I think that answered your question. Let me know if I didn't, though.
You did. In essence, you're saying if this is a failure and things don't come out of the list of things that Mike brought up, that we don't get a few of those things, and I'm assuming that objectively, just calling it up the middle, most of us that have been in the room in this chat or are in the room do want some of those things to happen. We do want a Republican with libertarian ears or a libertarian in the candidate, in the cabinet and things like that. So objectively, if it's those things are not accomplished, you would like to see more of an education component around what these principles are and the outcomes that come from that. Is that a safe way of summing it up?
Absolutely. Take everything we can get and be thankful for it and be white-pilled by it and then keep working and try and stay positive.
So you agree with Mike, but nonetheless, Mike, go ahead.
It's a difference in goal. It's a difference in goal.
Probably,
if you think the libertarian goal is to vote beg and to play political games, then you are going to fail and you're going to continue failing for the next 30 years and you're going to be an embarrassment to yourself and to libertarian principle. If you use it as a vehicle for social change, I think there's a bright future ahead. Okay.
Mike?
So I'm probably the most qualified to answer this question. I think the answer to that question is the same thing that would happen if we failed or not, because there is a course that is charted out that we're doing. I actually, in certain aspects, agree with what Patrick just said. I just think that there's a huge delineation between races that are winnable and those races are more in line with like what unwinnable, and those races are more in line with what Patrick was just saying, like social engineering, for lack of a better word. And races that are winnable, which political reality for the LP, what all the data shows us is local level races like city council, mayor, school board, and then trying to have a radical strategy based around that reality. So what's going to happen, whether it works out or not, is one, Project Decentralized Revolution is already the official strategy of the party. So that is, again, the strategy that focuses on city council, mayor, school board for the purposes of nullification and decentralization, utilizing the 10th Amendment as a weapon. And arming people with legislation. I've recruited 40 people who are going to be making calls to everybody who has run as a libertarian in the past 5 years to recruit people to get over 100 of these people elected by the end of 26 for these purposes. And then in addition to that, the other political reality for us where we have any consistent pattern of success is in the issue coalitions / legislative lobbying realm. Anybody who is a part of the Defend the Guard efforts knows that that's true. So kind of finding these opportunities for issues like Defend the Guard, like legalizing gold and silver at the state level, like legalizing psychedelics or Second Amendment sanctuaries or abolishment of the Department of Education, these kinds of things are not abolishment, nullification from the state level of education. That's all going to be moving forward, and that's what I'm working on. That's what I was contracted to do.
I want everybody to just for a quick moment. We just had an hour and a half long chat. A bunch of libertarians, Republicans, whatever, right? We identify as. Nobody was rude to anybody. Everybody was passionate with their positions. And you guys actually agreed more than you disagreed. So to me, I think this is a win in and of itself because there could not be more more of a solid representation of each lane of people that we all identify as, passionately arguing about this concept. And I do not think that anybody in this room, including Derek, who's, had to step away, I don't think anybody's actually asking for libertarians to fail. I actually think that everybody's saying we definitely can't rely on, even if we're disagreeing of if we should work with a Trump coalition, I think that people are saying we can't rely on them. It might be productive if we're involved with it. And nobody in the room is going, absolutely, the Democrats are definitely going to get us there. So I think that's something to take home. I want everybody to go through again, say your social media handles, give your final thoughts, let folks know where they can follow you. I want everybody in the chat. Everybody in the chat. By far, this has been our largest viewed chat so far. We've been doing the show for about 3 weeks now. And you guys have actually made it very, very successful based on my standards and the small following that I have on this platform. But I want everybody that's listening to make sure that you go follow and listen to all of these folks. These are liberty-minded folks that passionately disagreed and agreed about the future of our country. So I want you to follow all of them. But let's start with Karlyn. I just want you to, give your final thoughts as well as your handles where folks can follow you, support your work. And I think everybody's glossing over the concept of I don't know if y'all heard what she said. She said 6 days a week, I'm paying attention to what the actual socialist Marxists are doing. Like what they're actually doing. And a lot of the shit that you think is queer is it's not that, and so forth and so on. So these are the reasons why I think you should make sure that these different factions of the liberty movement can have that conversation. This is the reason why I want you to follow all of the different folks from these different factions all under the liberty umbrella. So go ahead, give your final thoughts, and then we'll move forward.
Hey, Maj, thank you so much again. I think this was a great discussion. Even though it got a little heated, maybe Mike and I yelled at each other a little bit. It's all good because I do actually agree with you that I desperately want libertarians to be successful. I really do, and I think everyone else does here as well. So I focus again on the radical revolutionary far left. I show on my YouTube Rumble X stream 6 days a week what the real socialists and communists are doing. I go undercover at their events. I record them secretly. I show you their training videos. It is some of the most dystopian stuff you will ever see in your life. You will not believe you're looking at real life. So I hope people will join me on YouTube, Rumble, X. I'm Dr. Karlyn B. Or you can look me up on Rumble. I'm the only Karlyn Borisenko on there. And I also do a blog on Substack. That's karlyn.substack.com, where I break down a lot of the concepts. I'm also working on my next book. It's called Re-Education, the definitive guide to decoding the far left. And so that hopefully will be out before the end of the year. And I really appreciate everyone today. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. Julia?
All right. You can look me up on Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast on X and YouTube. I'm on Instagram as well and Facebook. But you know what? I think we have a good opportunity to work together towards liberty to whatever ends we can possibly accomplish. That's my goal, is to, by libertarians having a voice and being productive and being loud and being pragmatic and future long-term thinking, they pull the Republican Party further towards liberty. We can get rid of the establishment, and through what we've seen in New Hampshire, libertarians have been able to run for office and actually have a large impact at a state level on the amount of liberty that the individual gets, whether it's tax caps, parental choice, whatever. And my thesis is that while I think what Dave Smith was right, what he said was right, conservatives have a lesson to learn from libertarians about liberty, and libertarians have a lesson to learn from conservatives about the level of social environment that's required to maintain liberty. And I think that was a good quote. And that's not a lesson on what should be legislated, but a calling to get active in your communities and be stewards of your communities to create the social change that is needed to create political change. And you can follow me on X. That's where I do most of my work.
All right. Pat?
I am Patrick Smith. You can find me on Twitter at NotGovernor. You can find my show Anarchast, ANARCHAST, on all of the major platforms. We interview anarchists from all walks of life doing all different kinds of activism. I will close with saying that I think we've spent the last 10 years waking up to and cleaning out sort of the woke left from a lot of principled libertarian spaces, I think now I'm starting to realize that there's also a flavor of woke right that we also now need to identify and understand and keep an eye on, so that we don't get ourselves right back into the same situation from the other flavor of the horseshoe. I will then close with a quote from Murray Rothbard from the case for radical idealism. He says, "Thus, the libertarian must never allow himself to be trapped into any sort of proposal for positive governmental action. In his perspective, the role of government should only be to remove itself from all spheres of society just as rapidly as it can be pressured to do so. Neither should there be any contradictions in rhetoric. The libertarian should not indulge in any rhetoric, let alone any policy recommendations which would work against the eventual goal, like murdering babies, for example. Thus, suppose that a libertarian is asked to give his views on a specific tax cut. Even if he doesn't feel that he can at the moment call loudly for tax abolition, the one thing he must not do is to add his support of a tax cut such unprincipled rhetoric as, well, of course, some taxation or baby killing, I added that part, is essential. Only harm to the ultimate objective can be achieved by rhetorical flourishes which confuse the public and contradict and violate principle." Thanks for having me on. I've very, very much enjoyed the conversation.
Appreciate you. Mike?
So follow my, you can follow me at dissidentmedia.com. Appreciate Murray there talking about what we should be advocating, and we should be advocating that things. I would recommend everyone read that article for themselves and take the point of, yes, we should be pushing for the zenith at all times and take what we can get along the way so that we can move the real world towards that zenith. I would also say that libertarians have undoubtedly affected our culture in a massive way. We've killed the media, and the new media class that is rising up behind that, the podcasters, are far more open to libertarianism and libertarians than any media class that has ever happened. And if politics is downstream from culture, I think what that's going to look like is that while we push for that zenith, the moves that the changes in culture are going to be more gradual. And I think that is manifesting itself right now by seeing something like the chair of the Libertarian Party actually being able to have a conversation in person with the president of the United States, making concessions to us to try to, win us over at the cost of wins in real life. So I think it's okay to take the win. I don't think voting is some ultimate expression of my principle. I think it's a tactical calculation. I don't think tactics are principles. I think if our principles are getting in the way of advancing our principles, then something is wrong. And I think it's okay to take the win, and I'm hoping very much so to see Ross Freed here shortly.
Well, thank you all panelists for tapping in. Some more folks are supposed to happen, but, scheduling and things of that nature. I want to thank you all again. Everybody, share this all over the place. I'll get the clips. I'll make sure that everybody on the panel gets access to the entire thing to chop it up for their platform as well. I'm elated, and this is the white pill, which is like reverse racism. Why the fuck they called it white? Why is the good one the white? I'm fucking with y'all. But I just want to say thank you so much, guys, for having this passionate debate. No punches were pulled, and everybody was respectful. And I just really, really thank you. Somebody just gas mask. I have it on the screen here. It says, "This was by far the best political discussion I've ever witnessed." And that warms my heart. So thank you all. Make sure you guys are sharing it. My name is Maj Toure. Thank you all for tapping into the extended version of the Maj Toure Show today. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, where we'll talk about politics, we'll talk about culture, we'll talk about pop culture, even the bread and circuses, but we're always going to turn it into a solution. Thank you all. I will see y'all in a bit. Be safe. Be solutionary.